This meeting is being live streamed, and truly, we're going to understand just where we are because it's important. Now, we're going to do something. This meeting is being live streamed on early child care. And so here we go. That's not what I want. It's not there. Mm-hmm. Move that a little bit. Oh, it's not there. Where did it go? It's right there. Mm-hmm. Select all. Select it all. Where is that? Here we go.
Skip to main content, an official website of the United States government. Here's how you know. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, ASP. Office of the Assistant Secretary for Planning and Evaluation. Topics: collaborations, committees, and advisory groups. About, searched by keyword, search, Early Childhood Systems Collective Impact Project. Breadcrumb, ASP, Early Childhood Systems Collective Impact Project. Image, leaders across federal agencies, including the U.S. Departments of Health and Human Services, Education, and Agriculture, have identified a shared vision for improving health and well-being outcomes for young children and their families. Yet long-standing barriers at the federal, state, tribal, and local levels impede the development of coordinated, comprehensive early childhood systems. The Early Childhood Systems Collective Impact Project, ECS Collective Impact Project, will help to re-envision a truly coordinated approach to program implementation designed to advance equitable early childhood and family well-being outcomes across federal programs that support expectant parents, children ages 0 to 8, and their families. This project will develop recommendations to improve, and tools to support, alignment, coordination, and equity across 5 key program elements: program eligibility, needs assessments, outcomes and performance measures, well-being goals and metrics, and equity goals and actions. Project findings aim to facilitate integration of services and improve program efficiency and effectiveness, streamline program eligibility and support enrollment into services, enhance comparability, consistency, and standardization of assessment, measures, and metrics across programs, reduce systemic barriers to services, enable deeper understanding of factors that support family resiliency and well-being. Early Childhood Systems Collective Impact Project products include Early Childhood Systems Collective Impact Project. Overview: Early Childhood Systems Collective Impact Project. A call for coordinated early childhood systems. Early Childhood Systems Collective Impact Project. Program Catalog and Crosswalk. Early Childhood Systems Collective Impact Project. Federal recommendations to improve alignment, coordination, and equity across early childhood programs. Early Childhood Systems Collective Impact Project. Voices from the field. This video elevates the voices of family, local, state, and national leaders on opportunities for federal coordination and collaboration in early childhood. Experts share their perspectives on key challenges, opportunities, and actions for the federal government to advance equitable early childhood and family well-being outcomes through creation of a coordinated, comprehensive early childhood system. Play 004. CC subtitles. Transcript. Settings. Picture-in-picture. Early Childhood Systems. ECS Collective Impact Project. Voices from the field. From Mathematica. On Vimeo. Full stop. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Office of the Assistant Secretary for Planning and Evaluation, in collaboration with the Health Resources and Services Administration's Maternal and Child Health Bureau, has contracted with Mathematica and their partner, the Center for the Study of Social Policy, to carry out the project. Return to top. About ASP, leadership, offices, waivers and exemptions, contact, other resources, ASP Home, HHS Home, USA.gov, Office of the Inspector General, the White House, accessibility, budget performance, privacy policy, non-discrimination notice, FOIA, Plain Writing Act, No Fear Act, disclaimers, viewers, and players, glossary, common acronyms, HHS Vulnerability Disclosure Policy, language assistance, Spanish, Tingvit, Tagalog, Russki, Creole Asian, Francais, Polski, Portuguese, Italiano, Deutsch, English. Connect with us. Don't miss the latest news from ASP. Sign up. asphhs.gov. Better research for better policy. The Assistant Secretary for Planning and Evaluation, ASP, is the principal advisor to the Secretary of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services on policy development, and is responsible for major activities in policy coordination, legislation development, strategic planning, policy research, evaluation, and economic analysis. Assistant Secretary for Planning and Evaluation, Room 415F, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, 200 Independence Avenue, SW, Washington, D.C. 20201, +1, 202-690-7858.
Okay, that was quick. Just went to heat up my coffee, but you gotta hear it. So let's just play it.
Holistic and equitable for all. It offers services for expectant parents, young children, and their families. It supports their health, mental health, early care and learning, and economic well-being. Programs operate with a shared goal that children and families across our nation can grow and thrive. But much work still needs to be done to realize this aspiration. Eligible families may face challenges to accessing or receiving services. The service delivery workforce is not well supported or paid. Programs do not always meet communities' needs or align with each other. The Early Childhood Systems Collective Impact Project aims to re-envision a coordinated approach to program implementation designed to advance equitable early childhood and family well-being outcomes. This project developed a series of recommendations to inform federal action across multiple agencies. Our next step is to transform those recommendations into actions. But first, we need to pause and listen. We need to listen to the perspectives of those who have experienced the opportunities that services make possible. We need to hear about the barriers that block access and participation. We need to listen to the perspectives of those who participate in services and those who strive daily to deliver them. We need to listen to those who have been leading the charge at state and local levels to realize systemic change. Now, let's listen to some of those voices.
Fundamentally, people with children need generally the same things. They need food, clothing, shelter, medical care, housing. They need all the basics, and they need the tools to thrive. And there are so many programs available that can help families thrive. We need to understand what is working and what is not working in different places. And the federal government is really the place, I think, where all of that can be pulled together. It is a central organizing principle in our country that our federal government helps us understand what we need as a nation. And this is a national need. This is a national problem that we need to solve together.
So for me, a national coordinated system would have some kind of infrastructure where there are shared goals and identifying the levers that can be pulled and can be supported for states in local areas to really optimize their ability to create real integrated systems and supports to support the physical, developmental, social, and relational health of children. And so for me, that falls into a number of categories, but it should be intentional. The federal agencies need to work intentionally with a shared vision, recognizing the already existing assets and supports that we have.
Whatever door kids are walking in through, whatever funding stream is attached to the space that they are going to be in, whatever part of the system they come in through, that they get a consistently high quality experience, that it is easy for families to enroll, that they don't have to do it multiple times in multiple different ways and go through lots of different hoops, and that once that kids are in the system, right, they can expect a level of consistency and quality in what they are getting, with individualization where it needs to happen. And that I think, to me, the most important part of a coordinated system is what we're coordinating to, right? Not just that we're aligned, but that we're aligned to something good And so ensuring that it is coordinated, right? And aligned to the highest quality standards that we have.
We've had a lot of families that have reached out to Family Voices as an organization, or that I have spoken with individually, that have said things like, I called such and such organization, and I think because my English isn't great, they assumed I didn't understand. Or because I needed someone to speak to me in Spanish, or because I needed someone to speak to me in another language, because I needed interpretation services, that they assumed that I didn't understand, or that I was too much of a burden for them to actually help.
Oh, wow.
And that is just like that heartbreaking. Like, you and your child deserve the same love and respect and support, no matter what language they speak. But I think a lot of the systems, when people are very overwhelmed and they hear somebody and they recognize communication is going to be a barrier to them, it just feels like something else to have to deal with, rather than being inspired to find ways to help support this family too.
And in the state of Hawaii, when we are looking at historical trauma and the effects of colonization that are obviously showing up in our data collection, and the way that our high need populations are not showing different data points from year to year, how are we going to think through differently a way to include their thoughts and their solutions and their input in design, and allow creativity and flexibility in the way that we are going to consider what is needed in the programs.
We need to listen to the community's voices, and that is not something that government does easily. We're used to telling the community what they need and telling them what they're going to get. In order to do a good job, though, we need to really ask them, what do you need? And how do you need it to be provided to you? And that takes courage for a government that isn't really oriented to listen that way. It takes leadership, and it takes a commitment. So we need to have that really come from the federal government.
If you get a group of leaders together and take them to the places where it's hardest for families or communities, and they listen, and they're committed to the cycle of feedback and response, you can't not be changed. And so that's what's critical to this work, is being able to listen to children, families, communities, the workforce, and feeling an obligation to change something. And the trick is, no one leader can make the change that's necessary. It is going to take multiple people to do that. And that then gives you the momentum to move forward.
In a perfect world, it would be great if the families could have 1 or 2 entry points to services, rather than having to answer the same questions over and over and over to different people, and having the systems not connected at all. People get very exhausted by having to talk to this organization and now this, and then this, and they get just sent around, and they have to repeat their story and repeat what they need multiple times, and that gets very exhausting. And then that starts to feel like more of a barrier and more of a burden than the burdens they were actually dealing with, that the systems are designed to help, right? If I have to jump through 12 hoops to get help with childcare assistance, maybe I'm just better off not getting childcare assistance than actually stepping in. So I think, as few entry points as necessary that can access multiple services would be ideal.
If somebody's eligible for SNAP and they're pregnant, or they have children under the age of 5, they're almost certainly also eligible for WIC. Why should they have to apply twice for 2 different programs when the eligibility is so similar? In fact, it would be really, really helpful if eligibility requirements were very similar between programs, so that eligibility in one program means you're eligible for another program as well.
Amen.
Let's make it as easy as possible for people to get the help they need.
That's so true. This is
How
horrible.
do
What's
we
happening
think
here?
through our government and our state positions being more reflective of our community, race, and ethnicities, and helping to support career professionalism or education to kind of bridge that gap of seeing most of our state and government positions not reflective of the actual community that they're serving.
They're often neighbors of the families that they're trying to serve. And we need to listen to them as we are listening to families. We certainly have got to do things about our care industry and about compensation. That's job one. But we also need to recognize that we are not necessarily treating our workforce in the best way, which has a ripple effect then to how they treat and support and serve families.
You look at the early care and education that competencies that are out there, and then you look at the healthcare system professional competencies that are out there, and then you look at the Title V MCH leadership competencies. There's so much in common, but they all speak a slightly different language. And so it could be very useful for there to be support where everyone can again see themselves that what they're supposed to be doing is work together. And often these, we silo training around a set of competencies when there's really a lot of common elements. So I think it's important to do interprofessional training and core competencies, and for people to have a chance to talk together in the context of being trained between healthcare and education.
Nobody's paid for the collaboration. When you go to a meeting, when you decide to collaborate, that's other duties as assigned. Your duty, the way the silos are structured, is transactional services. How many people got WIC? How many people are in TANF? How many transition off? Do you have open slots in early learning? How are you filling those slots in early learning? Your job isn't the collaboration. And so it reinforces the silos, because what I get paid to do is transactional. And what I know I need to do for families is more collaborative. And it's not in the job description.
Otherwise, people tend to be protective, worried, afraid that they're going to get into something they can't achieve, which is, to me, the biggest barrier in states and state leaders seems to be that they want to do the right thing, but they're worried they're not going to be able to have the resources to do it. And so I think part of it too is looking at some of the resources that can be brought by the state to support these collaborative processes, where we don't just talk about what we want to do, but we have the time to actually keep meeting, and it's part of our jobs and you're paid to do it. So it's not a sideline to create a collaborative approach across agencies, but it's a real job that's supported and staffed.
What I really want is for the federal government to join with states, and let's go do the work in the hard places. And what I mean by that is there's lots of places where we removed hospitals, where we know there isn't childcare, where we know that there isn't an economic center and transportation. Federal government and states should join together. Let's go make the work happen in those places. There are lots of incentives for not working in those places. They don't have the same infrastructure. They don't have the same partners. They certainly have partners we haven't worked with before. So I'd really like to see the federal government and states get together, and let's make it happen in the hard places, and that'll have a ripple effect for others across the state and across the country.
I think a lot of early care and education by design is segregated, right, by income. And in a lot of places that income is a proxy to race and other various factors. We have a special ed system in preschool that is often also segregated from the rest of the system, and those children with disabilities segregated from their peers. So this coordination becomes more, it's not just coordination for coordination's sake, or even for ease, and reducing burden for families. It's because it matters, and it's influencing the experiences that children are having in programs, their access to an integrated, diverse setting versus our perpetuation of segregated, self-contained settings by income, by disability, by race and class.
The lesson I really want to share is that it's possible. We have done it. I see leaders doing it every day. They're doing it on the fringes. They're doing it when special funds are available. They're doing it when they can take a little off the money that's there. But it is possible, and people are doing it. People are putting grants in places that never had grants before. But we need to recognize that the time horizon between offering the grant and getting the change you want is much longer if you're working new with new sets of partnerships and new relationships, and especially if you're responding into the feedback loop of community. So one, it's possible, and two, people are doing it, and they're doing it with new partners and new organizations and new groups in communities. And three, that change process takes longer than you would expect. I always say, you know, speed is the enemy of equity. If you really want to let all the voices be involved, if you really want to let people's voice be there and really create feedback loops, the time frame is a little bit slower.
One of the things that I will say is the time and the effort it takes to properly connect and create trust amongst community and families is a really daunting task. And it takes a mind shift of understanding that you are now going to share power and you won't be able just to dictate what's going to happen. But being able to create that collective impact space through a federal program have allowed above and beyond successes to be achieved by taking the time and proper listening and flexible, consistent methods to show the space is responsive. So the time to create the foundation and equity in practice, though it may look like nothing is happening, once you get your feet on the ground of how you're really going to move forward after hearing and listening and thinking through all the different ways, the outcomes are so much more meaningful and they're above and beyond what you think is going to happen.
Do we have a principle that we stand on? Is it that when somebody has a need, we are here to meet it? Or do we have a principle that says if somebody has a need, they can shop around and see what's available? It would really be better if we said that we are here to help people wherever they are, whatever they need, and here's the system we've put in place to make sure that happens. That would just be better. We'd have better outcomes. We'd have children thriving and growing up into be thriving adults and to be productive members of society. We have to remember that everything we put into families with small children is an investment in the future. It's absolutely an investment.
Mm-hmm. That was pretty awesome. Let's see. Stop the share and share it again. Stop the share and share the screen one more time. I think I should still download it. The document. There we go. All right. Now, I'm going to stop the share and share one more time. Make sure that we're sharing, because otherwise you might not be sharing. You look so foolish. Now, let's say select all. And let's just understand what we're talking about, because this is America, boo. And the failure that I'm seeing here is unacceptable. But let's just understand where it starts.
This project will help to re-envision a truly coordinated approach to program implementation designed to advance equitable early childhood and family well-being outcomes. Findings aim to, facilitate integration of services and improve program efficiency and effectiveness, streamline program eligibility and support enrollment into services, enhance comparability, consistency, and standardization of assessment, measures, and metrics across programs, reduce systemic barriers to services, enable deeper understanding of factors that support family, resiliency and well-being. What will the project accomplish? By September 2022, this project will develop recommendations to improve and tools to support alignment, coordination, and equity across federal programs that serve expectant parents, children ages 0-8, and their families. Recommendations will focus on, potential changes to federal statutes, regulations, and guidance around 5 key program elements: eligibility criteria, needs, assessments, outcomes and performance measures, well-being, metrics, and equity, potential changes that states, tribes, and localities can implement within current federal requirements and guidance. Tools will include, catalog of federal statutes, regulation, and guidance to understand program requirements around the 5 key program elements, crosswalk of program requirements around the 5 key program elements that highlight areas of alignment and misalignment, tools to support federal staff and technical assistance providers in coordinating across early childhood programs at the state, tribal, and local levels, tools to support state, tribal, and local program leaders in coordinating across early childhood programs. What is the anticipated long-term impact, enact recommendations that improve the collective impact of early childhood federal programs, increase coordination and alignment of programs at federal, state, tribal, and local levels, ensure improved and equitable child and family health, development, and well-being outcomes. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Office of the Assistant Secretary for Planning and Evaluation, in collaboration with the Health Resources and Services Administration, has contracted with Mathematica and their partner, the Center for the Study of Social Policy, to carry out the project, Early Childhood Systems Collective Impact Project. What is the opportunity? Leaders across federal agencies, including the U.S. Departments of Health and Human Services, Education, and Agriculture, have identified a shared vision for improving health and well-being outcomes for young children and their families. Yet long-standing barriers at the federal, state, tribal, and local levels impede the development of coordinated, comprehensive early childhood systems. 5 key program elements for alignment and coordination. This project reflects a comprehensive and multi-generational vision of the early childhood system. June 2022.
Let's see. Nothing else there. Let's shrink this window. Oh, we got to get to the window first. Quick preview. I mean, really quick preview. I want to go back to preview. I think we should read this one. It's edit selected all. Speech. Start speaking. You have to go back.
Identifying and describing disproportionality and disparities in child welfare, a critical discussion of race and research methods. Alan J. Dedlaff, Nancy Rollick, Kiana Cryer, Krista Thomas. Framing the issue, racial disproportionality and disparities have long represented preeminent concerns in child welfare, recent research concerning differential rates of maltreatment and increased awareness of differential risk factors has brought increased attention to these concerns and has called into question the appropriateness of past efforts to address them, as understanding and awareness have evolved over time. It has become increasingly important to ensure that disproportionality and disparities are described and identified appropriately, both conceptually and empirically. Defining disproportionality, disproportionality refers to the state of being out of proportion, disproportionality describes a condition when the percent of persons of a certain race or ethnicity in a target population differs from the percentage of persons of the same group in a reference or base population, in the child welfare system. Disproportionality occurs when the proportion of one group in the child welfare population, e.g., children in foster care, is either proportionately larger, overrepresented, or smaller, underrepresented than in the general population. Defining disparity, while disproportionality refers to the state of being out of proportion, disparity refers to a state of being unequal. Disparity occurs when the ratio of one racial or ethnic group in an event is not equal to the ratio of another racial or ethnic group who experienced the same event. In the child welfare system, disparity is used to describe inequitable outcomes experienced by one racial or ethnic group at various decision-making points compared to another racial or ethnic group. Disparities can occur at every decision-making point, including the initial report of alleged maltreatment, acceptance of reports for investigation, substantiation of maltreatment, entries into substitute care, and exits from care. Evolving understanding, early research focusing on disproportionality, limitations of population-based denominator, emergence of disparity as a more useful indicator, emergence of decision point analyses, impact of shifting dialogue and NIS for current and emerging understanding, disproportionality and disparities have become value-laden terms that imply inequities, although much research has documented the presence of disproportionality and disparities, much less research has examined the factors explaining their presence. Differences in poverty and risk exposure are likely significant contributors to observed disparities and need to be considered. Differences in poverty and risk do not mean that bias is not present within child welfare systems. Advancing research, research is needed that examines the extent to which observed disparities result from differential need and the extent to which they result from bias. Caution needs to be taken when interpreting or making judgments concerning the presence of disproportionality and disparities. Methods for examining the factors explaining disparities need to be disseminated. Studies need to acknowledge limitations when all possible. Explanatory factors are not included. Racial disparities are not caused by a single factor. The decision-making ecology. Bauman, D. J. Dalgalish, L. Fluke, J. and Kern, H. 2011. The Decision-Making Ecology. Washington, D.C., American Humane Association. Full stop. Measurement defined, disproportionality versus disparity, population versus decision-based enumeration, reference group, advancing research. Definitions. Disproportionality, the state of being out of proportion, when the proportion of one group, i.e., children, investigated is proportionately larger, overrepresented, or smaller, underrepresented than the general population. Illinois Child Welfare System. 2010, 15, 54, 65, 39, 14, 6, 2, 6, 0%, 20%, 40%, 60%, 80%, 100%, child population in care, African American Caucasian, Hispanic Other, Black disproportionality, 54%, 15% equals 3.6, White disproportionality, 39%. Hispanic disproportionality, 6%. 14% equals 0.4. 65% equals 0.6. Definitions. Disparity, comma, the state of being unequal, comma, often used to describe inequitable outcomes experienced by one group compared to another, comma, can occur at any decision-making point, comma, ultimately. Disparities that occur in both entries to the child welfare system and exits from the system produce disproportionality. Illinois Child Welfare System, 2010, 15, 54, 65, 39, 14, 6, 2, 6, 0%, 20%, 40%, 60%, 80%, 100%. Child population in care, African American, Caucasian, Hispanic, other. Black disproportionality, 54%, 15% equals 3.6. White disproportionality, 39%, 65% equals 0.6. Black to white disparity, 3.6. 0.6 equals 6.0. 14. Population versus decision point enumeration. Population enumeration, comma, compares children in the general population to children involved with the child welfare system. General population of children living in Illinois. Children in foster care in Illinois. 15. Population versus decision point enumeration. Population enumeration, comma, compares children in the general population to children involved with the child welfare system. General population of children living in Illinois. Children entering foster care in Illinois. 16. Population versus decision point enumeration. Population enumeration, comma, compares children in the general population to children involved with the child welfare system. Decision-based enumeration, comma, uses the children at risk as the comparison group. Population versus decision point enumeration. 17. Substantiated, not substantiated, entered foster care, not placed in foster care, at home, services, not investigated, for maltreatment, investigated for maltreatment, still in care, after 3 years, exited, foster care, in foster care, general population, children in Illinois, reference group, multiple comparison groups, comma, one group compared to each of the other racial ethnic groups, one comparison group, comma, one group compared to another, usually white, comma, one group compared to all who are not part of that group. 18. Reference group. Source: Needell Ann Putnam Hornstein Center for Social Services Research, University of California at Berkeley. Reference group. Disparity Index for Investigated Reports. 2006 to 2010. African American to white, 4.7, 4.03.93.83.7, 2.9, 2.42.32.22.3, 2.82.62.42.32.0, 0.10, 1.00, 10.00. Disparity Index for Investigated Reports. 2006 to 2010, Hispanic to white, 0.89, 0.86, 0.73, 0.71, 0.60, 0.82, 0.66, 0.59, 0.54, 0.49, 0.61, 0.52, 0.45, 0.36, 0.35, 0.10, 1.00, 10.00. Disparity Index for Investigated Reports. 2006 to 2010, Hispanic to African American, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, Community B, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, Community C, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, Community A, Community A, Community B, Community C, Community A, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, Community C, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, Community B, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, 0, 190, 210, 190, 190, 16, 0, 280, 270, 260, 250, 210, 220, 200, 19, 0, 160, 17, 0.10, 1.00, 10.00, 20. Comparison Group I All Others, 2006 California. Racial Disparity Indices, 1, 0.21, 0.79, 4.96, 1.69, 1.61, 1.32, 0.03, 0.80, 0.88, 0.90, 0.95, 0.30, 3.04, 0.39, 2.27, 0.37, 2.35, 0.01, 1.14, 1.09, 1. Allegations, substantiated, entries, in care, white, Native American, Hispanic, Asian Pi, 1.00, underrepresented overrepresented, black, source, Shaw, T. Putnam Hornstein, E. Magruder, J. N. Needell, B. 2008. Center for Social Services Research, University of California at Berkeley. Reference group. When using the all others as the reference group, a weighted risk ratio, WRR, may produce more stable results. Bullet. A WRR uses the community level risk for the racial ethnic group for the numerator and a weighted risk for all other children for the denominator. Comma allows comparison of communities with dissimilar population distributions by normalizing it to the state population distribution. Comma when risk ratios are based on small numbers. Minor variations in the number of children in either the numerator or denominator produces dramatic changes in the size of the risk ratio. The WRR standardizes the demographic distribution to match that of the state to which the community belongs. This allows for comparisons across communities and enables states to rank communities and target assistance. Additional information: Balmer, J. Bethel, J. Garrison Magrin, R. and Braun, M. 2007. Using the risk ratio to assess racial ethnic disproportionality in special education at the school district level. Journal of Special Education, 41, 3, 186-198, Rollock, N. 2011. New Methodology, Measuring Racial or Ethnic Disparities in Child Welfare, Children and Youth Services Review, doi, 10.1016 J. Childiov, 2011, 03, 017, 22, reference group, group A to whites, the conventional comparison, same comparison group for all races ethnicities, group A to all children not part of group A, does not set white as the standard, the comparison group includes children of many races ethnicity, group A to each of the other groups, most comprehensive approach, may be difficult to summarize. 23, advancing research, thus far our discussion has focused on descriptive data. To further advance this issue, we need to look towards more complicated analysis. Poverty has been identified as a key factor. 24. Poverty, Black child victimization rates, by Black child poverty rates and state. 2006, Black child poverty rate, Black child victimization rate, White child victimization rates, by White child poverty rates and state. 2006, White child poverty rate, White child victimization rate, White child poverty rate, Wilkson, F. 2011, Research in Action, Disparity, Poverty, and the Need for New Knowledge, Chicago, IL. Chapin Hall Center for Children, Poverty, Y equals minus 0.0206x plus 0.048, 0%, 5%, 10%, 15%, African American child victimization rate, 0%, 20%, 40%, 60%, 80%, 100%, African American children, African American child poverty rate, Y equals 0.0389x plus 0.0057, 0%, 5%, 10%, 15%, White child victimization rate, 0%, 20%, 40%, 60%, 80%, 100%, White children, White child poverty rate, Y equals 0.0012x plus 0.0042, 0%, 5%, 10%, 15%, Hispanic child victimization rate, 0%, 20%, 40%, 60%, 80%, 100%, Hispanic children, Hispanic, child poverty rate, Rollock, N. Detlef, A. D. Wilder Jr. and Jantz, I. 2011, The Relationship Between Child Victimization and Child Poverty Rates in Illinois, Chicago, IL, University of Illinois at Chicago. Available at www.socialwork.uic.edu CWRC. Advancing Research. 27, Decision-Making Ecology, Differential Risk, Individual Level Considerations, Community Level Considerations. Contact information, Child Welfare Research Collaborative, Jane Addams College of Social Work, University of Illinois at Chicago, CWRC@uic.edu, 312-413-2307. Visit our website, http://www.socialwork.uic.edu CWRC.
Did y'all get all that? I'm going to stop the share because you simply don't understand. States' rights said everything. And when I got here, this was a purple state with a different governor. And then it went back to that other governor. And I'm sorry, he thought he was just going to wheel and deal on the federal dollars. And it's unacceptable to me that these people are letting their children just fail to thrive in the public service sector. And I'm saying, oh no, that's not really how it works. How it works is that failure is just not an option. And this is the year of 2023. And hell, do you not see what's happening on the strip? Everybody, and even to the point of reaching back and grabbing Tupac Shakur. Nevada's pretending that we have been sitting at the table the whole time. Well, we have it in essence. We got Mike Tyson. He's selling marijuana now. We got O.J. Simpson, and he is still playing golf. We got Usher running around, performing, and Usher's confident in who he is, but so am I. So therefore, I know what I'm talking about. I'm in my lane. But when people cross over to my lane and they want to have a conversation with me, that's on them. Because I still know what I know. And I know that in America, failure is just not an option. But if your children are failing to thrive, meaning that they're not at grade level, age appropriate, and they haven't made that accomplishment yet, well, what the hell is going on? Because my people have just chosen not to come to the table. And even when you do come to the table, they thank you for your input and they move it aside. And that's just fine. As long as they have the data that demonstrates, that is demonstrating that we all have had equal access. And I can't find the data, and therefore it doesn't exist. And to move right along like y'all doing the right thing is just unfortunate, as it is not correct, period. So you're going to be who you're going to be. And I'm definitely going to be who I'm going to be. And y'all should try to catch up on some of this education because it's critical in the year 2024 that we all understand that we're only human. And as human beings, we have the right to the same access. And if people are creating projects and services for us, then we need to weigh in. Is it working? And quite frankly, it's not. Because when I weighed in on the juvenile justice system, well, I got a thank you letter from the federal government. Do you know what that means to me? Because I know that I'm right. But when these people are risking the federal government coming in and yanking all the money back because they're refusing to be equitable and the services and the public services that are provided to everyone. And then they depend on these not-for-profit agencies to say what they're doing. Well, what the hell? That's not their obligation. Third-party providers are just not obligated. Therefore, all those people with that 30 hours training those children with behavioral issues, well, I'm sorry. That's going to be unacceptable and out of line. And so therefore, we are no more than who we pretend we believe we are. And people can do whatever they want to do. But I'm not asking you to follow me. I'm simply telling you that it's your obligation to stand up and be heard. So everybody within, the reach of my outreach need to be concerned with how many children are not graduating from high school or being socially promoted, since Nevada is claiming to have increased the graduation rates for the last 2 years. And I'm saying, oh, hell no, that hasn't affected our community at all. And you saw the data, and so did I. And you did see that they were just refusing to document themselves. And I'm saying, hell no, not as long as I am who I am. And I'll say, y'all have a blessed day, but I'll be back. You should catch my show over there on Spotify. It is called The Parent Empowerment Half an Hour. I have over 1,000 shows there. Get yourself an education, because I'm not going to put it in a book. It's already there. The issue is that you haven't read, or you're not well versed, and you want to continue to read. Where do we go from here, Lord? Where do we go from here? And I'm saying, I'm going nowhere but up, because I'm riding the wave. So click over there and check out my podcast on Spotify. Because as far as I'm concerned, they can put me back on Anchor, where I was making the cash. And that's just it. But until we meet again, boo, I'll be back. I believe these trainings are going to be critical. I can't do them on any other app, but I can do them on Zoom. So come on and Zoom with me. This is DA, Citizen Anderson, saying,